Blood of the Dead. This map is absolutely hated by most Zombies fans. Despised even. Called one of the worst maps of all time. Just like Voyage of Despair, is having a title like that deserved? Well, let's hop right into it. So starting us out, as always, is the lore in the pros section. So Blood of the Dead. This map is interesting as it takes place right after Zetsubo no Shima, precisely when Primus ventured to Alcatraz to secure the blood vials. However, if we remember Mob of the Dead and the cycle of the mobsters and of the universe at large, we know that everything repeats over and over and over again, for who knows how many times. During one of the infinite cycles, Weasel manages to actually kill the three mobsters instead of the other way around. This sets the souls of Alcatraz free, and Weasel's spirit actually turns into a bird, while the other mobsters are spirits. If we remember why Alcatraz Pocket Dimension was created, it was for the Shadow Man to use the Dark Mechanism to sap Richtofen's blood, in order to open a portal from the Dark Ether to allow the Apothecans to escape. Keep in mind this is before Revelations, which also means that the Shadow Man is still in the Summoning Key. In fact though, Revelation doesn't even happen in the cycle, because when Weasel breaks it, universal ripples are sent throughout all time and space. And it so happens that the change for Primus was, they teleport from Zetsubo no Shima a little bit further away from Richtofen's lab. Normally what is supposed to happen when Primus teleports to Richtofen's lab, they teleport right in front of the lab, they go in, get the blood vials from the Richtofen about to go to Shadows of Evil, leave, and then go to Grodd Krovi. However, these universal ripples cause Primus to arrive at the lab late, and when the Richtofen about to venture to Morgue City sees Primus, he hands Richtofen the Chronorium. Due to the broken cycle from Weasel, the pages change. The Chronorium when read is supposed to show the reader their own past, present, and future. The pages are never supposed to change. However, with Weasel breaking free, the cycle is broken and the universal ripples cause the pages to change, distracting Richtofen and sending him into a panic. Richtofen read the Chronorium already, and seeing the pages change frightened him because it now said that he had to die in order for an escape from the prison to be feasible for his team. He didn't want to die. The entire reason for traveling to Alcatraz for the blood vials is so his team didn't have to die. Richtofen had blood vials already and didn't need to get any more, but he wanted to save Primus, because after the trials and tribulations of Dreisendrach and Zetsubo, Richtofen began to care for his team. So Richtofen is panicking because this diversion to cheat death ironically accentuated his. Unfortunately, being distracted for so long and having to run back to the portal, and before they have time to escape, gave the warden enough time to break their portal to Grodd Krovi, therefore trapping Primus in the prison. They try everything, and unfortunately can never escape, and thus Richtofen succumbs to the will of the Chronorium. The only way anybody is leaving the prison is if Richtofen uses the Dark Mechanism to open a portal out, though doing this will kill him. With no other choice, Richtofen is forced with the help of the spirits and Primus to find a way to the Dark Mechanism in order to carry out the will of the Chronorium. If we take a step back and remember the universal ripples, we eventually find out right before Primus confronts the warden, there's actually another pod, separate from the ones housing Victus. Yes, they're here too from the end of Buried, but to prevent this from getting too convoluted, I'll leave them out. This separate pod is actually created from a universal ripple effect, in a timeline where the cycle was broken, similar to this one, but the ripple effect took place after Revelations, during the Great War to be precise, after being sent there from Dr. Monty. Richtofen of that timeline somehow became aware of what he had to do, and during the time of the war, instead of fighting the Apothecans, he actually constructed a teleporter in order to get himself to the island, and awaited in cryostasis for his awakening. Richtofen, before setting out to fight the warden, he begins the thawing sequence, and as they confront the warden, the battle is hard, and no matter how many wardens they kill, he keeps coming back, and Richtofen unfortunately has to sacrifice himself to the Dark Mechanism. As this happens, the pod housing the Richtofen from the Great War steps out from his pod and reveals to us he has the Fire Staff crystal from the 1.0 Fire Staff. Using this crystal, he enters the battlefield and uses the power of the crystal to purge all evil from the island, demonstrating a speck, a morsel of the original staff's power. This blast wipes out every zombie, frees every spirit, and kills the warden at large. After this happens, Great War Richtofen is aware of the cycle. He's actually lived through it and Revelations, but due to his lack of a soul, he entrusts the Chronorium to Nikolai instead, knowing he would make the right decision. Nikolai accepts the Chronorium and begins to read it, but not before post-Revelations Richtofen, aka Great War Richtofen, walks up to his dying self from Zetsubo and in a mocking, unsympathetic attitude leaves his other self to die to keep the portals open. The sad part being this Richtofen died so his teammates could live, and the worst part is Primus had no idea the reason they were there is for the blood vials for them to live, as post-Revelations Richtofen actually destroys the blood vials before they leave, thus leaving Richtofen to die alone on the island as Primus travel to Groom Lake. So, did you guys think the story was good? And the most emotional cutscene of all time? And one of the most badass stories you've ever seen? Yes, I would argue the lore was very good. And I know that was a little convoluted, I feel like, but I think I explained it decently well. There's obviously very good videos explaining the lore, so I don't think I need to go too in detail, but I think I covered the most important parts. They absolutely knocked it out of the park with the lore here. The amount of lore explained in this map alone, plus the promotional material, just creates such a broad picture of something that we've already technically experienced. We've experienced what happens when they go to Alcatraz and then go to Zetsubo. But somehow, the storytelling geniuses known as Blundell and Craig Houston managed to create something as small as a little diversion Alcatraz into a ginormous spectacle of a map. And they did such a great job, and I have to give them a huge round of applause for the amazing story on this map. They knocked it out of the park. Something else they knocked out of the park was the familiar layout and new areas of this map. It's no secret to anybody that Blood of the Dead is a remaster of Mob of the Dead, and they blend the old with the new extremely well. All the old fan favorite areas, most of them, from Mob of the Dead actually make a grand return here, plus some new ones that blend in so well with the aesthetic of the original Mob of the Dead. We have the new Industries building, which actually houses a new trap called the Fan Trap, which is an awesome trap that has a monkey bomb effect. We have the Powerhouse. We have the Catwalk, which is a new type of mechanic on this map. After turning on the power over on the new Industry side of the map, you can go up to a catwalk door, and rushing through it, you'll have a bunch of like round 10 zombies on round 1 charging towards you as the warden commands hellhounds, zombies, and everything of the map to try and rush the player down, while intense music plays, while unique dialogue from the characters play, while everything just kicks into high motion and just goes absolutely crazy with the music. The difficulty takes a huge jump for being on round 2. You need to be absolutely prepared for this. They just hit the aesthetic and layout so well, because when you finish the run at the catwalk, you actually end up in the spawn room of Mob of the Dead. And then at the Mob of the Dead area, we still have new areas too. We have the Warden's house, which is right outside the Warden's office. The wall in the Warden's office is now destroyed, and you can actually walk through it to go into the Warden's house, which is where a lot of important stuff happens. And of course, Richtofen's lab, which is over back at the new Industry side of the map. You can actually see Victus and Pods. You can see a walnut where Ultimus, Richtofen, and Maxis use the MTD to try to transfer the walnut to get teleportation underway. Has unique dialogue. Interacting with various things in Richtofen's lab triggers unique dialogue. It's just really good stuff. All in all the artistic and aesthetic choices really hit the mark. But moving on from the artistic and aesthetics, we actually have some gameplay-oriented things to talk about, and leading us off is the Spectral Shield. Think of the normal shield from Black Ops 4, which has a weapon, except instead of a gun, you have a key, and a really cool design for the shield that allows you to see into the astral plane. This shield has a lot of features, so the key on the side that you hold on the right, holding the shoot button, you'll absorb some zombie souls. Absorbing 3 souls will allow you to get a spirit blast. ADSing and then firing will fire a spiritual blast at zombies, wiping them out on any round. You can hold up to 2 of these, and what's more, you can upgrade these. With the returning Hell's Retriever, another amazing returning feature, you can actually upgrade the shield very easily, might I add. Getting the teddy bear or the lock in the mystery box, using your shield to absorb the lock's essence. You can throw your Hell's Retriever at the lock, and then your shield upgrades for free, allowing it to take more hits, and it can hold 4 Spirit Blasts. 4 one-shot blasts on any round whatsoever. And that's not even all, as this shield can revive your teammates from extremely far away. You don't even need to use your own revive for this. Absolutely amazing stuff. Mixing some more returning features into this map, though, we actually have the return of the Blundergat and the Acid Gat. Both of these return, and they're just as good as they were on Mob of the Dead. The Acid Gat being a little worse, however, PhD being in Black Ops 4 sort of negates that. It makes the Acid Gat a force to be reckoned with, but it doesn't even compare to how good the Magma Gat is, a new type of upgrade for the Blundergat. The Magma Gat shoots fireballs out, and it has a distraction effect similar to the Acid Gat, where zombies will run towards it, and you can use this to make some really ballsy ass plays, and it one-shots the Warden on any round after you pack-a-punch it. As we chug along, we also, of course, have the return of the Hell's Retriever and the Redeemer, some great additions to this map. Some other great additions are actually the return of the Acid and Fan Trap. Both of these traps return and are just as good as they were on Mob of the Dead. Another great addition to this map is the return of the Zombie Blood, and it's even better than it was on Origins. Going down to the Citadel number pad, which returned from Mob of the Dead, and Spirit Blasting it, the number pad will turn on, and if you enter 872 into the number pad, you get a zombie blood. Not only is it like Origins where you become immune from the zombies when you pick it up, however, your actual view model hands change into that of a zombie. And if you're playing as Richtofen, if you remember on Origins, your model changes into a zombie, but your view model hands don't. Your view model's hands do, and the Richtofen zombie gets blue eyes, which is a super cool touch. Another really cool touch about this map is actually the way you pack-a-punch. After getting a Spirit Blast, if you head to the roof, you'll notice the plane is no longer there. In fact, the rest of the roof is blocked off by a giant sign saying no one escapes alive. If you look closely though, you'll see one of these shock boxes from Mob of the Dead. Shooting your Spirit Blast at these will actually cause the Pack-a-Punch machine to lift off from the Golden Gate Bridge and teleport onto the roof of Alcatraz. This will also spawn a Warden in. The touch of it actually flying off the Golden Gate Bridge is so cool to me. And unfortunately, the Golden Gate Bridge does not return, but I feel like they made a really cool nod to the Golden Gate Bridge at least. Anyway though, not only do a ton of features return like the Blundergat, the Acid Gat, and the Hell's Retriever, we actually have the Spoon and Golden Spork returning as well, each with their own unique upgrade quests. And a new feature, the Golden Spork Knife, makes its appearance on this map, which you actually need to take advantage of the 3 traps on the map and get some crystals. The Golden Spork Knife one-shotting all the way up to like round 45 or something like that. And you can upgrade it again to the Golden Shiv by doing another upgrade quest after the Spork Knife to get the Golden Shiv, which one-shots permanently, and with the Ethereal Razor perk, you have a melee weapon that can one-shot for the rest of the game. It's unbelievably broken. Something debatably broken is actually free monkey bombs also make a return on this map, which also have new animations, which is really nice. You can actually get some free monkey bombs by getting a level 2 specialist and getting some kills near a monkey bomb statue under the first Hellhound head. These free monkeys are actually used for the Easter egg though. Yes, the Easter egg is in the good section. That's very controversial, I know, but let's just get into it as we're going to be here for a minute. So the first step is to open Pack-a-Punch, get the Hell's Retriever, get the Spoon, and knife the wall in the Warden's house. The next step is one of 2 ways to progress. You either get to round 17, which is really weird for an Easter egg step, or to get those free monkey bombs I was talking about and spawn a Warden by entering 666 on the number pad. What you're supposed to have happen here is have a Warden do an EMP slam, which is a new attack the Warden has, which actually doesn't even shut off any electronics, unlike the ones on transit, thankfully. It's a really cool artistic choice for the Warden to have. What you need to do is get the monkey bomb, this is the most practical way to do this, and then throw the monkey bombs in front of the door you knife. The Warden will break open the wall, and then you can go inside, revealing a secret room, and revealing the Warden's dead body. Interacting with this will cause a really cool cutscene to happen with the lighthouse. It should be noted though, if you're playing as Richtofen and he interacted with the pods in the actual spawn room, Richtofen will actually talk to Stuhlinger for the remainder of the Easter egg, and they have some funny ass dialogue. A really cool feature they didn't have to put in, but they did. So what you actually need to do next is go back to spawn after picking up a really easy to miss orb. When you go back to spawn, you can put this orb on the wall of the map, and then the Chronorium will start lighting up, which was thrown by Richtofen in the opening cutscene. Interacting with this Chronorium, we'll have Weasel in his bird form absorb the Chronorium and fly to the prison. What you're going to end up needing to do now is go to the prison where the Weasel flew to. The Weasel will be in one of 3 locations, and when you look through your shield, you'll be able to see him, and if you look through your shield, you'll also be able to hear him as well. Look through your shield into one of the 3 locations, or listen for him to where he is, and then you'll see him, and then you gotta Spirit Blast him. You'll need to do this 3 more times. However, on the 2nd and 3rd time you do this, you'll have 42 different locations you can spawn in. A little overkill, don't we think? However, there are some tips to be able to find the Weasel easily. If you go to the top of the gondola and look out towards the sea, when the round changes, you can actually see the Weasel fly into a general direction, so you have a good idea of where he is. And of course, if you know the exact locations the Weasel's at, that helps a lot too. After hopefully not too long of a time on the step, it can get very long if you don't know the locations, or if you get a dog round and you can't see the Weasel flying to the map. What you'll end up needing to do on the 4th time is actually go to one of the 12 or so locations he can be at, which are near the docks, and then look through your shield until you hear the Warden crying. When you hear the Warden crying, you know you found the bird, as the bird is actually invisible on the step. What you need to do now is get the zombie blood by entering 872 into the number pad, and when you enter 872, a zombie blood will spawn into the map. Picking that up and then going to where you heard the Warden crying, looking through your shield again, you'll see the Weasel actually with the Chronorium under his feet. Throwing the Hell's Retriever at the Chronorium will retrieve it, and you can pick it up and then go back to the Warden's house, go to the attic, and then place the Chronorium down. What's going to end up happening now is a dialogue sequence before the Chronorium pages start flipping. Interacting with it again and looking through your shield will reveal 3 numbers you can look at. So what's going to end up happening now is similar to Grot Crovy. You need to do 5 challenges around the map. We'll start with the Simon Says challenge. So after entering the numbers into the number pad, the lighthouse will actually shine over to the powerhouse building, in which, if you look through your shield, a portal will spawn. Looking through your shield and Spirit Blasting this portal will actually cause cause the generator inside the generator room to start sparking. Heading back over to the docks and going to the generator room, you'll see this generator here is sparking has turned off. What should end up happening now is a game of Simon Says, and a very difficult one at that. What you're going to end up needing to do here is take notes of the 6 generators around the map and then just follow the lead. This goes on for 5 rounds and the numbers switch every single round, unlike something like Moon or Horizon Drag. Anyway though, after hopefully not too difficult of a time, 3 generators will stay lit up, and if you look closely you'll see 3 symbols on these generators. Take note of the 3 generators that stayed on and take down their symbols. If you miss what generators were on, you're completely out of luck. This is a terrible design choice. Anyway though, hopefully you caught the 3 generators that were on and you got the 3 symbols down. Go up to this desk right here and pick up a punch card, then go back to spawn. Interacting with this computer will cause 6 monitors to turn on. Look for the 3 monitors with the 3 symbols you had on them. Interacting with these monitors now will change it to a new symbol. Do this with the 3 symbols you had found at the generator room. When you end up doing this, what will end up happening is the symbols will change and you gotta jot these 3 down. Go down to the powerhouse now and make sure you have 3 spirit blasts. It should be noted, interacting with the now defunct afterlight boxes with your shield out has a chance to refill your shield blast to max, which is a really nice quality of life change. Anyway though, after having 3 spirit blasts, if you look through your shield, you'll see a ghost here, pulling random levers. What you'll need to do here is look for the 3 symbols that you jotted down, and when the ghost is at that symbol's lever, you need to spirit blast him. If you mess up here, you will have to restart the entire step. This step is absolutely terrible, spoiler alert. But anyway, hopefully you can manage to be very careful, be very slow with this step to make sure you get it down the first time. After you do this, this ghost will drop a orb similar to the one you picked up in the warden's house. Pick up the orb after the ghost drops it. What you need to do now is just repeat this step again, where you need to go back to the warden's house, interact with the Chronorium, and then enter the number into the number pad, and then we will say you got the Morse code step. There's actually 2 ways to do this: brute force or looking for these random buoys outside the map that flash Morse code. We'll say for the sake of convenience that you actually go around the map and look for the buoys. Use a Morse code chart to depict what the numbers are saying. I believe the number is always less than 20, and then enter it down in the cell. After doing this, your character will say, quote, dictating you finished, and then you need to go to the infirmary and kill a zombie. What you end up needing to do now is spirit blasting a ghost which actually has spawned off the zombie. Interacting with this ghost for long enough will actually cause the ghost to become attached to the player. What you need to do now is get kills around the ghost. What you need to do with this ghost is actually bring it down to the docks. However, the ghost will only move if it's filled with zombie souls. However, if you don't fill it up enough, it'll stop moving, so you need to make sure you're constantly killing zombies. Eventually, you just lead the ghost down to the docks. Recommended to use the gondola for this. And then the ghost will actually leave, and then leave behind an orb, and you'll actually see a ghost ship outside, which is a really nice attention to detail. Picking up the orb, though, that the ghost dropped, you are finished the step, which is very nice. The step isn't that bad. The next challenge is, we'll say for the sake of convenience, we'll say you got the New Industries challenge. This is debatably the hardest challenge, so let's get into it. Heading to the New Industries building where the new fan trap is, you'll see a portal after looking through it in the spectral shield. Spirit blast it and then go to the mob of the dead spawn and kill a zombie. This will leave a ghost behind. Spirit blast the zombie and then you'll actually need to start absorbing the ghost's soul. You need to make sure you have 4 spirit blasts for this. This is very difficult if you're doing this mid-round. All in all though, this step isn't that bad as long as you plan ahead and make sure you do this step in a way that'll make it a lot easier, because you can have your run ended on the step if you do this mid-round. Anyway though, run back to the spawn area where you got the portal and then turn on the new fan trap when the ghost is in range. When the fan trap is on, the ghost will actually end up dying and leaving behind an orb. This is a very clever way for them to force you to end the round, by the way, as the last zombie will always run into the trap ending the round. They knew what they were doing with that. Anyway though, we'll say for the next challenge you actually got the Michigan Avenue challenge. So looking through the portal and shocking the one at Michigan Avenue, going to the cafeteria and killing a zombie, you will spirit blast it, and then what you end up needing to do is escort the zombie to Michigan Avenue where the portal is. This is very difficult if you don't have monkey bombs, acid gas, as you, the player, can actually damage the ghost as well, along with the zombies. The zombies won't target the player and will instead target the ghost. Make sure you have monkey bombs or the magma gat for this. Dead of Nuclear Winter is really nice. Raindrops, anything to help keep the zombies away from the actual ghost, including on-demand walking, is very good for this. It should also be noted that you can actually see the ghost of the prison cheering on the ghost to get out of the prison. This is a really cool attention to detail, and a warden will also spawn every single time during the step, always dropping a nuke power-up to make it a lot easier. Very nice touch by the developers to add a little bit of a level of ease to this Easter egg. Anyway though, after you escort the ghost to the portal, you'll pick up the orb, and now you will actually be on the final challenge, debatably my favorite challenge, the showers challenge. This is a really fun step, so let's get into it. Heading to the showers area, what you'll end up needing to do is spirit blast the portal, of course, and then when you spirit blast it, a ghost will emerge from the wall, holding a banjo. You interact with the ghost, and then you pick up the banjo. Your character model actually has the banjo on him, which is a very cool touch. You're going to need to go to a circle that's glowing blue, then and get some kills to fill up the banjo. The circle will move after enough time has passed, and if you stay out of the circle too long or you take too long, you'll start taking damage. You'll need to go up to the ghost and interact with him to cleanse yourself, heal, and then pick up the banjo again. And then we're going to repeat this until you actually hear a banjo sound, and then that'll signify you're done the step and you pick up the last orb. A very fun step, might I add. After you pick up the orb, you'll now be on the boss fight. Nice, so let's keep going. So what you'll need to do now is actually go back to spawn, place these 5 orbs on the map here, go back to the warden's house, and then interact with the crematorium, in which an amazing cutscene will play. Anyway though, after the weasel releases you from the cage, what you'll end up needing to do is go pick up your gear from a bag, which is actually kind of a cool step because it repairs your shield when you do this, and you get a new Pack-a-Punch camo if you don't have any of the mastery camos on, which I always found was a funny touch. After you pick up your guns though, you'll go down the stairs and then you'll see the warden slowly walking. You can actually follow the warden all the way to the end of this area, however he will eventually notice you. Killing the warden, however, will actually cause another warden to spawn, in which the weasel will actually trap him within a shield. There is a barrier preventing you from leaving this area until this warden has been trapped. So after the weasel has trapped the warden, run out the door and then run down the area leading up to the catwalk. This step is actually really kind of difficult if you don't know what you're doing. However, this is a really good way to refill your shield blast, as whenever you absorb a Hellhound soul, it takes about 2 seconds to fill up. When you do this with a zombie, it takes about 10 seconds. So make sure to get yourself 4 shield blasts, you and your team make sure to load up, and then after you get back to the new industries part of the map, you'll actually notice the warden standing there. He'll do an attack while actually cause him to become the Super Brutus. When it becomes Super Warden, you'll actually see 3 ghosts fly in and start trying to struggle with the warden. This is actually Bill, Sal, and Finn from Mob of the Dead. They will capture the warden and bring him to the sky. You'll look up and you'll notice that the sky has actually got a new skybox, thus adding to the theatrical flair this Easter egg has to it. Anyway though, you'll notice that the warden has left an orb behind. Picking this up and placing it on the map will actually cause the map to burn up in fire, thus revealing a new pod behind the wall here after it lowers. So now you're actually on the real hard part of the boss fight. So what you're going to need to do now is just make sure you have all your gear, make sure you Pack-a-Punch, make sure you have everything, and then actually go through this new area in the spawn that has opened up and go up to this garage door, interact with it, and you'll be sent into the boss fight. So the first phase of this boss fight is pretty simple. You'll pretty much need to kill about 15 wardens while infinitely spawning zombies, and wardens will swarm your location. Though, if you have the Magma Gat for this, it makes it a lot easier. The Acid Gat's really good, the Helium Salvo's really good. Anyway though, after defeating about 15 or so wardens, you'll get a max ammo on a Carpenter. What you're going to end up needing to do now though is the actual Super Warden will spawn. He'll start talking in Apothegm and start trying to destroy the area. You'll need to go inside the force field he created and then use your gun to destroy these 3 orbs around his force field before you turn around with your shield and then Spirit Blast it. That's why I said to make sure to load up on your Spirit Blast. What's going to end up happening next is the second round of the first phase, where the same thing will happen where you need to kill about 15 wardens, a bunch of zombies, and hellhounds. However, the difference here is that there'll actually be insta-kill circles around the map. Standing in these pentagram-looking things will instantly down you if you're in them for too long, so be very careful. However, it should be noted that if your shield breaks during this step, as it's required for the Easter egg, when you get the max ammo on Carpenter, a new shield will actually spawn inside the arena, so you can get yourself a refill on your shield before the final phase. That is a very good addition, and if you manage to not be able to kill the warden because you have no shield blast after your shield broke and you picked up a new one, the phase will just reset and you just gotta do it again. It's a very good design choice that could easily have been overlooked, something like the Reisendrach's max ammo problem. After this, after you repeat the same step where you shoot the 3 orbs and then shoot the dark mechanism, which is actually part of the arena, what will end up happening is whoever is playing as Richtofen will now need to interact with the dark mechanism in the middle of the map. If you're in solo or someone is not playing as Richtofen, what will end up happening is a bot version of Richtofen will spawn and then get on the dark mechanism. Whoever is now playing as Richtofen will have a first-person perspective of what happens when you get on the dark mechanism, and the person who is playing as Richtofen will also get a cutscene that only they can see of Great War Richtofen actually getting out of his pod. This is the coolest shit ever, and I can only imagine how hyped the first time somebody saw this was, especially somebody who's been following the story up to this point. This is a chill-inducing sequence, and what ends up happening after you get out of the pod is Richtofen reveals the Fire Staff crystal before monologuing to himself, and then the player controlling Richtofen or the bot will make their way up to the garage before Great War Richtofen opens up the garage, and then he uses the Fire Staff crystal to purge all evil from the island, and the person playing as Richtofen gets a first-person perspective of this. This is the coolest fucking shit I've ever seen, and in every single time, I've done this Easter egg about 25 times now, and it's impossible for me to not smile ear to ear whenever this step happens. It's so fucking awesome. Anywho though, what ends up happening after this is you just need to kill the warden, because whoever is not playing as Richtofen will actually need to fight an invincible warden. This warden behaves exactly the same as an original warden, however you cannot kill him. You need to wait for post-revelation Richtofen to open the garage and then purge the evil from the island with the fire staff crystal. After this happens, the warden's shield will go down, and then you can actually kill the giant warden before the Easter egg cutscene commences. The Easter egg cutscene, I don't need to tell you how good it is. We all know how good the Blood of the Dead Easter egg cutscene is, even regardless of what you think about the map. Like I said, they did an amazing job with the story here.
Ain't that swell?
Chills galore. It's sad, it's emotional when it needs to be. The music hits right. They just did such a good job here. And with that absolutely fantastic finale of a boss fight, that leads us to the ends of our pros section. This map introduced so much and did such a good job with everything, I feel like, up until this point, that I had to give the map credit where it was due, and I feel like the map hit the nail on the head so well, with its layout, with its story, with all the returning features and new features, blending the old and the new, innovating, having a lot of personality. This map does so much so well, and I feel like it gets way too much hate for the amount of good things this map has done. However, we gotta talk about some bad things. Some bad things are some awfully bad Easter egg steps. We have the bird step, the second and third bird step to be precise. This is obnoxious to a T, because there is a glitch where the bird you cannot see fly in, and even if you know all the bird locations, for some reason he might not spawn in. This bird step is one of the worst Easter egg steps of all time. The Simon Says step is very similar, because not only is it obnoxious that you need to play Simon Says, the entire Simon Says part of this Easter egg step should have been removed, and the only thing you should have been doing for this step is just finding the 3 generators that lit up, got the symbols, and then the step could go on as normal. And then the problem is when you're done the Simon Says step, what ends up happening is the 3 generators that stay lit up will not light up again if you're not careful and look for which ones stay lit up. There is no way to relight them up. And in fact, what you end up needing to do is reset the Simon Says step, which means advancing your game about 3 rounds and retrying. That's assuming you even get this step. You can end up getting this challenge last, because if you fail a challenge, you're not guaranteed to get the same challenge again like on Gorod Krovi. This may, in fact, be a top 3 worst Easter egg step of all time, and I will not hear anybody defending this step. This map, while I might like it more than most people, anyone defending this step is literally just baiting, and there is no argument for the step being good. It just goes on forever. One of the 2 parts of this step need to be cut out. Either the Simon Says part or the part with the punch card. One of these parts need to go, and then the step's okay. And of course, the new industry step is also really bad. Same with the Morse code step being a little inconsistent with its Morse code, because I swear sometimes when you look at the buoys, it doesn't light up. And even when it does light up, sometimes there is a glitch with the 9 and the 0 in the Morse code where they blend together, so you end up needing to try more combinations. So that's why brute forcing this is normally the best way to go through Morse code. The new industry step is stupid if you don't have an afterlife box nearby, or if you don't keep 7 zombies alive. But oh wait, the Black Ops 4 bleed out timers are very strict for about 5 minutes, so then the round will end. This map's challenges are just really bad, except the Banjo and Michigan Avenue challenge. Both of those steps are really good, but I just feel like this Easter egg has some awful steps. But I think the theatrics alone help carry this Easter egg to the pro section instead of leaving it to die in the con section. The cutscene with the warden, all the dialogue between Primus, we have Richtofen talking to Stuhlinger, the part with Great War Richtofen. There's just so many little things that help push this Easter egg into the good section just barely. It's still a very flawed Easter egg, but running through this Easter egg every now and again isn't the worst thing ever. And that's really the juxt of all the bad I have to say about this map. I really don't have much else. It's just this map's Easter egg really hurts it. I understand there's a lot of problems with the flow that people feel like, but I've really never noticed this map flows bad. It has everything Mob of the Dead has and just adds to it. I never understood why people hated the layout and flow of this map so much. I will say there is little to no fast travels on this map, and the fast travels that are on this map aren't very fast or reliable. I do think the Redeemer quest could be a little bit better, but for the most part, this map has everything Mob has and just improves on it, so I don't understand why people hate this map so much. It comes off as, I hate to say this, but the common consensus of this map and of Voyage also is that these maps are terrible. I don't think Voyage is terrible, and I especially don't think this map is terrible. I think this map is very good. It has its problems, like no fast travel, of course, some awful Easter egg steps, and I will say the removal of the Golden Gate Bridge is kind of lame. However, the callback to it is really nice, so they didn't completely forget about it. And the fact there's no afterlife also kind of hurts it. However, it wouldn't make sense to have it because of the lore, but you know, it definitely does hurt to not have it rather than to have it. But I feel like the shield picks up the lack of the afterlife system on this map. So all in all though, to prevent myself from going on for too much longer, I think this map did a very good job in what it was trying to convey, which is a continuation of Ether from Revelations, and to make itself stand out from Mob of the Dead in a good way, which I think it did very well. And I think this map just gets way too much hate. I really enjoy this map. I always have a good time on it, minus some Easter egg steps. And for the most part, they did an amazing job with this map, and I hope more people end up in the future realizing that this map isn't as bad as some people make it out to be.